Hey, it's time for chapter 15, part 2. Wait, wait, breathed Patrick. It was torture to wait. The rat had stopped moving when all the scuffling and footsteps had started. That was something, but now it was quiet again. Omri imagined it creeping toward its prey, its pink nose twitching, its albino whiskers trembling hungrily. Oh, how could he have let Little Bear go down there? Boone's death would at least not have been his fault, but if Little Bear was killed, Omri knew he would never forgive himself. At long last, the living room door closed and both boys stole out of bed again. Patrick reached the light first. Omri grabbed it, but Patrick insisted on looking first to see if Boone was still breathing. He was. They rolled back the carpet and lifted the board again, terrified that each movement would attract the grown-ups below. The homemade candle was burning away in the gloom like a little torch in a disused mine, throwing its eerie light down the tunnel. Omri lay down flat. He didn't dare raise his voice, but he called softly, "Little Bear, are you there? Come back, you're in terrible danger." Silence. "Oh, why doesn't he come?" Omri whispered frenziedly. At that moment, they heard something. It was hard to identify. It was the rat, all right, but what was it doing? There was no running sound, just a sort of tiny shock, as if it had made one short, sudden movement. A pounce? Omri's heart was in his mouth. Then there were other sounds, as if he had not got used to straining his ears to catch the voices of the little men. He might not have heard it, but he did hear it, and hope nearly lifted him off the ground. It was a faint, light scrambling sound, the sound of a small body getting through a hole in a hurry. Omri pulled the lamp back out of the hole and thrust his arm in. Instead, his hand opened. Almost at once, he felt Little Bear run into it. Omri closed his fingers just as something warm and furry brushed against their backs. He snatched his arm out, grazing his knuckles against the splintery wood. There was something else in his hand, something cold and knobbly, twice as heavy as Little Bear. He opened his fingers, and both boys leaned over to look. Sitting on Omri's palm, filthy and bedraggled but triumphant, was Little Bear, and cradled in his arms, trailing cobwebs and a red satin ribbon, was the missing key. "You've done it, oh Little Bear, good for you. Now quick," said Omri. "Patrick, get the candle up and put the floor back. I'll find the Red Cross man." Reckless now, they switched the top light on. Patrick, being as quiet as he could, replaced the floorboard and the carpet, while Omri looked through the figures jumbled up in the biscuit tin. Luckily, the Army medical orderly was right on top, still holding his precious doctor's bag. Little Bear, meanwhile, stood beside the pallet bed on which Boone was lying, staring down at him, still clutching the key in his arms. Omri took it from him, thrust the plastic man into the cupboard, and turned the key. He made himself count to 10 while Patrick watched, pop-eyed and scarcely breathing. Then he opened the door. There stood his old friend Tommy, his bag at his feet, rubbing his eyes and frowning around him. His face cleared as he saw Omri. "Well, if it ain't you again. I don't half pick my moments to drop off to sleep, I must say. Thundering great Minnie whining overhead, I thought I was a goner." "What's a Minnie?" asked Patrick in a croaky voice. "What? Another of you?" asked Tommy, gaping. "I must have eaten too much cheese for me dinner. Shouldn't give us cheese before a big attack. Very hard on the stomach, especially when it's churned up anyway with nerves. What's a Minnie? It's our name for a Minnewerfer. That's one of them big German shells. Made an horrible row, they do. Even before they land, sort of whistle that gets louder and louder. And then kaboom! Them blokes with my job has to pick themselves up and run as quick as you like to where it fell. If it fell in a trench to take care of the wounded. "We've got a wounded man here we want you to take care of," said Omri quickly. "Oh, yes? The old redskin again, is it?" "No, it's another one. Could you step onto my hand?" Omri lifted him to where Boone lay, and Tommy at once knelt down beside him and began a professional examination. "Oh, he's in a bad way," he said after a few moments. "Could do with a blood transfusion, really. I'll have to have this bandage off and look at his wound." He was cutting it off with a minute pair of scissors as he spoke. As the bandage opened, the anxious watchers saw that the tuft of tissue was now red with blood, but Tommy said, "Bleeding stopped. That's one thing. What was it, a bullet?" "An arrow," said Omri. And Little Bear shivered all over. "Oh, yes, of course. I see that now. Well, I'm not much on arrow wounds. Head's not still in there, I hope." "No, it was pulled out." Good. Lucky it missed his heart. Well, I'll see what I can do." He got the hypodermic out of his bag and fiddled with it for a moment, then plunged the needle into Boone's chest. After that, he stitched up the wound, put a field dressing on it, and got Little Bear to help him peel off the rest of the old blood-stained Band-Aid. You a pal of his, are you? He asked the Indian. Little Bear stared at him, but did not deny it. Then look here, when he wakes up, you keep giving him these pills. They're iron, see? Build him up. And these as well. They're for the pain. But we have to hope is that there won't be no infection. You need penicillin for that, said Patrick, who had once had a bad cut on his foot that had turned septic. Tommy looked at him blankly. Penicillin? What's that? Omri nudged Patrick. I hadn't discovered it in his time, he whispered. Best thing I can suggest is a drop of brandy, said Tommy, and taking out a flask, poured something down Boone's throat. Look there, he said cheerfully. He's getting a better color already. He'll open his eyes soon. I wouldn't wonder. Keep him warm. That's the ticket. Now I must be getting back, waking up, I mean. If that there Minnie's landed, I'll be in demand, and no mistake. Omri carried him back to the cupboard. Tommy, he said, what if the Minnie had fallen on you? Couldn't have done, could it? If it had of, I would have been dreaming this here dream. Would I? I'd be singing with an heavenly choir. Sure be. Hurry up and shut the door. I can hear him calling, stretcher bearer already. Omri smiled gratefully at him. He hated to send him back, but obviously he wanted to go. Goodbye, Tommy. Thanks, and good luck. And he shut the door. From the other end of the table, Little Bear suddenly called, Omri, come. Boone opened his eyes. Boone, wake up. Omri and Patrick turned. Sure enough, there was Boone staring up into Little Bear's face. What happened? He got out in a faint, shaky voice. Nobody liked to tell him, but at last Little Bear had to confess. I shoot, he said. What you talking about, you crazy man? I asked you what happened in the picture. Did them settlers beat the Redskins and get where they was going, aiming to get? Or did the Redskins carry off the women and scalp all the men and the dirty low-down savages? Little Bear drew his breath. His head, which had been hanging in shame, came up sharply. To Omri's horror, he actually saw his hand go to his belt for his knife. Luckily, it wasn't there, but he jumped to his feet. Boone, shut mouth. Not insult Indian braves or Little Bear shoot again. This time kill good. Take scalp, hang on pole. Boone's scalp too dirty, hang on belt of Indian chief. And he snatched his chief's cloak off Boone's body and swirled it proudly back around on his own shoulders. Omri was shocked, but Patrick was laughing so hard he could scarcely hold it in. But he controlled himself enough to wrap Boone up in the cutout blanket to keep him warm. Omri snatched Little Bear up between finger and thumb. Oh, so you're a chief again, are you? He hissed furiously. Chiefs ought to know how to keep their tempers. Here. He picked the broken headdress off the floor and fitted it lopsidedly onto Little Bear's head. Now, Chief, have a good look at yourself. And he held Little Bear up before a mirror. Little Bear took one look and then hid his face in his hands. Just remember what you did to your friend. Not friend, enemy, muttered Little Bear, but the anger had gone out of him. Whatever he is, you've got a job to do. Where are those pills? You're to see that he gets them. We can't even see them, so it's up to you. And when Boone is better, do you know what you're going to do? You're going to make him your blood brother. Little Bear shot him a quick, startled look. Blood brother? You both make little cuts on your wrists and tie them together so the blood mingles. And after that, you can't be enemies ever again. It's an old Indian custom. Little Bear looked baffled. Not Indian custom. I'm sure it is. It was in a film I saw. White man idea, not Indian. Well, couldn't you do it just this once? Little Bear was silent for a moment, thinking. Then Omri saw that crafty look that he knew of the old coming into the Indian's face. Good, he said. Little Bear, give Boone medicine. Make him my brother when strong. And Omri, put plastic in box. Make real wife for Little Bear. Not tonight, said Omri firmly. We've had enough excitement. Tonight, you stand guard over Boone. Give him his pills when he needs them. Drinks of water and all that. Tomorrow, if everything's all right, I'll bring your woman to life. That's a promise. Find out what happens tomorrow.